Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Today we're going to be ranking every single Total Drama Island character. Now, be forewarned, this is all my opinion, so if you disagree with me, please leave a comment below. Don't hate me. This is all just my thoughts on it, and I feel like I might have a few unique takes, I guess, but for the most part, I think I don't have anything super controversial. We're going to be only ranking these characters based on their iterations in Island, because this show is extremely dynamic. Like, all the characters grow and change throughout the seasons, whether that's because that's how development works or because of contrived writing, I don't know. But for now, we're only going to do Island. I plan on doing every season, luckily, unlike some other people who do this stuff. I actually do enjoy the non-trilogy seasons. I do enjoy them to a certain extent, and yeah, we're gonna be doing this list, and it's gonna be great. So I'm gonna go in the order that I was presented with them. So first of all, I guess we got Chris. Now I think Island Chris is probably the best Chris, just because you get the vibes that he's a host and not just this sociopathic character that doesn't care. Like, you get the sense that he's on TV, I guess. He feels like a reality TV host, whereas later on he just becomes sort of extremely sociopathic and evil, and I feel like, for what it's worth, he does a great job at setting the framing for the show. The first few episodes, he's great. I feel like the campers trust him early on, and their dynamic is pretty darn interesting. I don't think Chris has much interaction with any of the contestants outside of the trilogy, in all honesty. I look back and I just think, man, Chris doesn't even really care. Like, of course he'll say their names during elimination, but other than that, it's like he's the artifact of the show. Anyway, for Chris, I'm gonna have to put him in S tier. I think he does a very good job, and it says a lot how even to this day we still go, yeah, dudes, campers, that wasn't cool. I don't know how to do a good Chris impression, but we're gonna have to give him S. It's a little cheesy to do. I'll get Chef out of the way too. I'm gonna give Chef an S tier. I think this is Chef's best season, hands down. Outside of Island and I guess Action as well, he just sort of fades into the background. And it's kind of lame, because I do think that the Chris Chef dynamic is so great. It's like, why does it disappear after the trilogy? Maybe the voice actor was busy, but like, man, this is probably the best iterations of Chris and Chef in that first season. And I feel like every season since then, they've just tried to minimal success with their chemistry. So yeah, Chris and Chef S tier. That's goes without saying. Anyway, let's go to the contestants. So, Beth. What are my thoughts on Beth? I think that Beth in Total Drama Island is much stronger than the Beth we got in Total Drama Action. I know that's a bit of a weird take, but I think she stood up for herself, and she had a bit of growth. She had a weird friendship with Lindsay. Her alliance with Heather was pretty interesting, to say the least. It was the first alliance ever, I think, and probably the most iconic, now that I think about it. I think that Beth here, I would have loved to see more of this Beth in action. Instead we just got this sort of random events plot kind of Beth, where she has a boyfriend that no one believes in. Like, if you think about it, in action, Beth didn't do a whole lot, and I think it was kind of a mistake. But we'll talk about the action tier list. So strangely enough, even though Beth is like a pretty irrelevant, honestly, towards the end of the game, a pretty irrelevant supporting character, I'm going to have to give her a B here, a pretty high B for Beth. I think she does a pretty good job at what she does, and I feel like she sets the stage for the rest of the season. Her elimination, I feel, is the moment where you realize, oh crap, we're going to start losing some pretty significant supporting characters. Her elimination is probably the first one where I felt that way. You know, every elimination before that, it was just, they're filler. They're here to be fodder for the bigger characters, but Beth is really the first big character to go. Anyway, Bridget. So my thoughts on Bridget is that I feel like she was written to be a main character. I feel like her and Cody are like the big surprises of the cast, where they have such protagonist energy, and then they get taken out not only unceremoniously, but fairly early considering their archetypes. I think Bridget, especially her story towards the merge, where she's the last girl on the Killer Bass, that could have gone somewhere. It didn't really go anywhere. Like, her dynamic with maybe like Heather, maybe Gwen, that would have been pretty cool to see, but we didn't really get any of that. Instead, she was pretty unceremoniously booted in 10th, and in my opinion, I think Bridget is probably the most, the most anticlimactic elimination of the season. Unfortunately, this is also Bridget's best season. She doesn't fare too well in Action and World Tour. This is really the only season where she lasts more than like 4 episodes. And I feel like, for what it's worth, Bridget is a great character who's sort of a red herring, where you think she has that energy to make it super far. And I feel like in most drafts, fan fictions that people have made, Bridget has what Gwen has, where it's just such a strong protagonist feel. Anyway, as for the text we were given, I think Bridget's alright. I think she's A tier at best. I feel like there's so much better ways to have made her boot and crafted her character, so I'm gonna put her in A. I think that she's just squandered potential, and one day, just like how everyone's saying, oh, one day Courtney's gonna be a finalist, I think one day, probably, assuming the show continues decades from now, we're gonna see Bridget as a finalist, but unfortunately she missed her mark and we're just gonna have to keep on waiting. I hope that made sense. Now, Cody is sort of a continuation of that theory, because he's sort of like the underdog. He's the scrawny nerd dude. He's relatable because he's such a geek. It fits the crowd. I should probably note that Total Drama Island is the only season where you don't get a scrawny underdog kind of guy in the finals. You got Mike, you got Sean, Harold, Cody in World Tour, and of course Cameron. But Island, all the guys that make the merge, they're the pretty buff, cool dudes. None of the nerds make it. And I feel like if you're going in expecting this to be Island to be the traditional, coming of age story, you're mistaken, because you're not going to get any of the nerds going far. I think a lot of people had a lot of stock in Cody, but that just didn't fan out. And I think what's surprising to a lot of people when they watch Island, they think so much of the World Tour counterpart that when they watch Island, Cody's kind of a pervert in that season. He's kind of a creep to Gwen. And I think, to make matters even worse, it's just, I feel like he has a very anticlimactic way to go. I do enjoy Cody's character, and there definitely is a lot of potential, but after his boot, that guy's pretty much gone for a season and a half. In World Tour, he's a different person altogether, and Sierra definitely develops him in a weird direction. I actually do enjoy this Cody. I'm gonna have to rank him under Beth, unfortunately. I think he's surprisingly filler considering his archetype. You could go in so many directions with the way his personality is, but it doesn't really go much of anywhere. Once he starts getting interesting with the Gwen and Trent stuff, he just gets the boot, and it's kind of disappointing in hindsight. And and that's the last we ever see of this Cody. The Cody we get in World Tour, that's a different guy altogether. So yeah, no, Cody gets a B from me. And there will be choice words we say about him in future tier lists, so stay tuned for that. DJ. I feel like when they they probably didn't originally plan to make a trilogy at first. I think DJ is a character that is the best in this first season before he got Flanderized. Now, if you don't know what that means, Flanderized is when a character's trait is so iconic that it slowly becomes their only trait. I feel like in Island, he was a pretty normal guy. Maybe not as much as Trent, of course, but he wasn't what he became in Action and World Tour, where he's constantly freaking out and sucking his thumb and crying and all that stuff. I feel like in Island, he's a pretty solid guy. He makes jokes, he has a bromance with Jeff and a little bit with Duncan, and for all intents and purposes, he's just like a mama's boy, and it's pretty endearing. Whereas DJ in the future, it gets kind of grating at times. I think DJ in Island is super underrated as a character because he doesn't have too much of a story. He's just kind of there. He's just kind of the other guy for Duncan and Jeff. And I don't know what else there is to say about him. He's a pretty chill dude, but I feel like he's the character that they kind of just didn't know where to go with him. And there are characters like that who don't serve too much narrative purpose, but the writers know to keep them around for a decent amount of time. DJ and Izzy are probably the two biggest examples of that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna put DJ. I'm gonna put him in A tier under Bridget. I think he serves his very limited role pretty well Island is probably his best season. It's probably he's the least important in Island, but it's probably his best as a character, I feel. So yeah, DJ gets a 8 here for me, under Bridget. That's for sure. Eva. Okay, Eva is a character that everyone says has a lot of potential. I just kind of don't see it. Like her rivalry with Bridget, yeah, sure. Her getting mad all the time, yeah, sure. But like other than that, she's just pretty one note. She was written to not have a whole lot of things going on. She's very static, and she's been the same way for 3 seasons. I don't know why everyone says bring Eva back. No, I think she's done. She served her purpose in her first season. Her returning was great, and I wish it lasted longer than 1 episode. I think that would have been super interesting, but that just didn't happen. She was just brought back for 1 episode, and then that was it. Eva, man, I am not. When I was younger, a little story. When I was younger, Eva actually kind of scared me, and I was so happy she was booted second because I was like, I don't really want to see that. She's so scary. I'm gonna give her a C for this. No, I'm gonna give her a B for this season. This is the only season she's gonna be on the tier list. Yeah, she appears in the other in Action and World Tour, but she's not a contestant. So I'm gonna give her a B for what she's worth. She fills her role pretty well. I don't think she should ever return. Under Cody, that's for sure. But I feel like she doesn't deserve C because, as I said, she did return in that 1 episode, and it did serve a bit of purpose for Bridget, and I think Heather as well, actually. And Lashana. So yeah, no, she gets a pass for helping the narrative a little bit. I say narrative as like total drama, is a story driven show. It really isn't, but there's hints of it here and there. And actually, before I continue, I should probably mention that I just don't like Eva that much. Sorry. Sorry guys. Ezekiel. Oh man. What is there to say? He's funny, but his boot is just so out of nowhere, I guess. Like, yeah, he made sexist comments, he got canceled for it, but like, it just kind of comes out of nowhere. And I get it, he's just the fodder character. They made him just so that they could save the main characters for later, which I respect. I think that was a pretty solid choice. In doing so, it surprisingly made a lot of fanboys at the time. A lot of people were into Ezekiel pretty early on. There's a pretty popular fanfic just centered around Ezekiel, but I think for what it's worth, we're gonna give this guy a D. He served his purpose well, sure, but he's not really a character. I mean, I don't think he's. No, I'm gonna give him a C. I think D is a little too harsh. I think D is where you fail to fill your role. Ezekiel filled his 2 episode role pretty darn well. So there you go, buddy. There you go. All right, Jeff. So this Jeff is very unique in a sense that this is by far the well, actually no, I wouldn't say that. I feel like the Jeff we know and love in Action sort of faced such harsh derailment in Action World Tour before returning back to form in Redonkulous Race. And I think one of the best parts of Redonkulous Race is how we get a return to form for both Jeff and Owen, who were pretty badly derailed afterwards. Jeff in this season is pretty enjoyable. I think he's extremely quotable and lovable. It's a shame, just like Bridget, DJ, Izzy, that this is really their only season to shine. But no, I really did enjoy Jeff. I think his relationship with Bridget sort of gets the it's not in the spotlight as much as Courtney and Duncan or Gwen and Trent, but I think that their relationship is super cute in this season. I feel like he's such a cool guy, but he's also kind of a dork, and I think it's really endearing. And I did love his friendship with Gwen in his last episode competing. I think that was great. It was so surprising when Redonkulous Race was leaked to see Jeff back. I don't think anyone was expecting that, but it was definitely a very welcome return. I love Jeff in this season. I'm gonna put him under Bridget. I think Bridget has more of an arc, where she's sort of finding friends and she's coming to terms with who she is, whereas Jeff, he's just more of a cool dude to begin with. He's pretty static. He begins the season just like how he ends, except with a girl for now, whereas Bridget has a bit of growth there. That's pretty endearing. All right, next up we got Harold, and I think Harold in this season is yet another example of like the surprise twist where the underdog doesn't make it far. And yeah, he's the last pre-merge boot, but he doesn't make the merge. I think if you were given a bit of a development lens, you would think one of Beth, Cody, Noah, or Harold is going to make the merge because they're the nerds, and the nerds always surprisingly make it far because they're it's unexpected, right? That's their storyline, but he doesn't. Despite owning the dodgeball and the talent show contest, he doesn't even make the merge, and I think that's so crazy to think about. How I feel like Harold at one point was the fan favorite of Island just for those 2 scenes, and he doesn't even make it that far to begin with. I love Harold here. I think Harold is great in Island. I think his revenge against Duncan and Courtney, well, more so Duncan, it's pretty iconic. Courtney getting mad at him in the Playa de Losers episode was pretty well done. But other than that, I think Harold, I don't know. Harold is such an outdated Napoleon Dynamite reference that it does feel pretty like unnecessary now. But yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna give him an A. I'm gonna put him above Jeff. Actually, I think Harold gets that sweet spot where he's such a nice character and you just want more of him. Yeah, no, I'm gonna put him there. I think Harold is pretty much the one of the bigger characters in the pre-merge, and once he goes, that's when the story, that's when part 2 of the story begins, I guess. So for that, I'm gonna give him A tier. I'm considering giving. Okay, nah, I think A tier's fine. I don't think he's better. I was gonna say I'm considering S tier, but he's not better than Bridget, so that's where he goes. Heather. Now Heather, here's where she goes. You ready? Here's where she goes. Boom. She's the best character of Island. No, that's not true. That's not true, and we'll get to that a bit later. But she is the second best character in Island, definitely the best antagonist of the show. She feels like a true villain, a true obstacle to overcome, and I think that alone is what set the tone for the series so well with its many antagonists. I feel like Heather is just such an iconic character this season. Sure, in the merge episodes, she loses a lot of her power after the whole Trent thing, but for the most part, she is just such a fun villain to have, and her downfall, her losing her hair, is just, I don't know, man. It was just so well written, I feel, and you can't go wrong with Heather. Is this the best Heather? I don't think this is the best Heather, and it's still pretty darn good. I think the best Heather is the World Tour Heather, but for what it's worth, this is definitely the beginning of her trilogy, and I think that's pretty great. Yeah, I don't really have any bad things to say about Heather. I feel like a lot of people, when they leave the season, they go, you know what? Heather, she was super mean, but she was a great villain. She was so fun to root against, and I mean, what else is there to say? She's Heather. So yeah, that's where I'd put her. I put her as currently the best character, but there's one character that's better, and we'll get to that person sooner than later. Anyway, Izzy. I'm not gonna lie, I've never been a big fan of Izzy. Like, she is kooky, she is random, she is like the Pinkie Pie of the show, but it's like whatever. Even when I was younger, it was just sort of like whatever. She's the kooky girl. What else is there to say? And it's pretty obvious that like they like keeping her around for comic relief, and sometimes her dynamic with Owen is pretty great. But other than that, she doesn't really serve that much purpose. She's just there to be filler in all 3 of her seasons. The random goofy character. I think Island is probably the best Izzy because we get at least some story with Owen and, you know, and whatnot. But like, I feel like up until her first boot, and I might be wrong here, but every time I watch the show, I kind of forget she exists up until her first boot. Like her that episode, the camping episode, she just goes off the walls insane there, and then she just kind of randomly returns. Doesn't do a whole lot other than the Owens things, and a little bit with Heather and Lindsay, but other than that, Izzy is pretty much just filler. Is it funny filler? Yeah, no, it is funny. I've never been too high on her, but I think it is. I think it is funny in this season. I feel like World Tour, she just does pretty much nothing other than a few fun one-liners here and there. In action, she's just, I don't even know why she returned in action only to be booted a few episodes later. It just felt like padding. But Island, man, I don't want to grade her A. I don't think Izzy gets an A for this season. I'll give her a B. I'll put her above Cody. Do I put her above Beth? Nah. I think I think Beth beating all these characters is such a hot take, but I feel like the Beth we got is so much more in that one episode. In that one episode alone, that Beth that we got is so much more interesting of a character than the others. That might be a hot take. I don't know. Justin. Okay, look, with Ezekiel, he filled his role. With Justin, I don't think he even filled his role. Like, he's supposed to be this hot guy that people like, and I think he barely did anything with his time there. He did nothing with it. In action, it's a little better. And then, of course, in World Tour, you get Alejandro instead, who's just Justin, but, like, smart and cunning and an actual character. In this, like, it says a lot if your character is F tier, if you don't even live up to your niche. And Justin just didn't. All right, he did next to nothing. He had no lines other than the first episode, because I'm guessing his voice actor was just busy. Yeah, disappointing. I feel like they could have done literally anything with his character. You know, he could have spoken, but it's such a funny meme that Justin doesn't even speak he barely even speaks for his first season. I still, to this day, don't understand why. It's such an odd choice. Why not just get a new voice actor? Why write him out of the show without him even talking? It's just you'll notice the first 2 seasons they will go out of their way to make some characters not talk in an episode, and it is bizarre. And I get it. They were trying to find their footing, but Justin is the most surreal solution that they came up with. I'll give credit where credit's due. In future seasons, for the most part, everyone talks in every episode, and I think that's what makes it a bit more connected. Whereas Island and Action, they both kind of suffer from these kinds of issues. More so Island than Action, in all honesty. I think Action is, other than the first few episodes, it sorted out pretty well. Anyway, Katie. I'm gonna rank her and Sadie I'm gonna rank them both separately. I'm gonna put Katie in D tier, because I think the Katie-Sadie subplot went nowhere. I think it went absolutely nowhere. We know nothing about them. We just know that they're connected, but what are they connected with? We don't know anything about them other than they like each other. They're pretty much BFFFFFFLs or whatever. Sadie, I'm going to rank her F. Honestly, I think Katie is better than Sadie. Now here's the reason why. Because when Katie went home, you'd expect Sadie to have this plot where she becomes her own person, she learns to live without Katie, she grows, maybe she cries, but she gets stronger, she makes some friends, right? That doesn't even happen, right? It is pretty much written in the stars, hey, give Sadie her own, growth arc, but she doesn't even get that. And I think that's just, she fails her niche. She fails what should have been her niche. She doesn't do anything for her up until her boot. In fact, even if I remember correctly, her boot is just so random. She just throws apples at Courtney and then she gets voted out. It's like, it has nothing to do with Katie. Other than that scene where she cries about it, that's all we get. She gets next to nothing to do in the remaining episode she's in. It is just such a waste. Why not give her something to do? Literally anything would have been better. And because she fails her niche just completely, she gets F tier. I hate to say it. Katie, I don't like Katie as a character. I think both of them are super annoying, but at least Katie isn't a failure. At least she filled her role as the first one booted. Sadie completely failed her role as the as the one who survived, I guess. So, sorry. But I actually, why am I apologizing? I don't think there really are any Katie and, it's 2021. You think there are any Katie and Sadie fans? No, they all left years ago. Lindsay. Where do I put Lindsay? I think Lindsay is sort of Lindsay is a super interesting character because she is just like the dumb blonde, but she does get that moment with Heather. Towards the end of her run, she gets really annoyed that Heather is super bossy and mean. She curses her out and whatnot. And I think that is such a great way to tie in the fact that she's the dumb blonde. And also, I should mention that Lindsay kind of gets her revenge. She's the dare who gets Heather to shave her head bald. I think that, that's pretty it's not really talked about a lot. Anyway, I feel like Lindsay's story here, it feels a little incomplete, but other than that, I really did enjoy Lindsay as a character. I feel that she fulfilled her purpose pretty darn well. She was the one who got mad at Heather. She's the one who said, "Hey, Heather, you kind of suck." All right, and I think her comedy was a lot better. I feel like Lindsay is a much better comedic character than Owen ever could be. Lindsay just fills that funny person role much better. Where would I put her? I think I would... Man. Am I going to rank her above Bridget? I want to rank her above Harold. No, I'm gonna rank her under Harold. I think she's not as good as Harold. She's better than Jeff, but not as good as Harold. She's pretty great to have, and I feel that, yeah, no, I just feel satisfied with her. That's all I can say. Oh, her elimination. That is so crap. Like, man, they just came up with the most contrived reason to boot her. But you know what? At least we got the epic moment where she curses out Heather. All season long, Heather's been kind of been needing some kind of calling out, and the fact that Lindsay was the one to do it, it's all the more surprising. Yeah, no, Lindsay's a great character. She gets even better in action, but after that, woof. After that, it's hard. Okay, Mr. Coconut. Mr. Coconut is a character that people say is their favorite when they don't know anything about Total Drama. When they just forget Total Drama, they're like, "Who's your favorite character?" "Ooh, Mr. Coconut. He was so funny." "Oh, Mr. Coconut. He's gonna win." It's like, no, you just don't know Total Drama. I'm not gonna give him F because he's funny. It's a funny Wilson the volleyball joke. He's better than Katie. I'm gonna put him in D tier. He's funny, but it's like it's a meme that got old like 15 years ago. It's like. Oh man, if you ask anyone what's your favorite character and they say Mr. Coconut, they're not funny. It's not funny anymore. I'm so mean. All right, Noah. Okay, I've thoughts about Noah later on. Positive thoughts. Don't worry about it. Positive thoughts. But for this season, what's there to say? I feel like Noah, he was given such, no. Whereas some characters, you can tell there's clear direction where their character should go, like Justin and Sadie. I feel like with Noah, it's more just he's just fodder. He's just there to be a boot. I don't know why they would give him a unique voice actor though, Carter Hayden. Why not just like get someone else to do like a wacky voice? Because he's only there for a handful of episodes anyway. Why have to hire a completely different person for what, like 5 lines? I think Noah is great, and they only realized that after he went. In the Playa de Losers episode, and even in the special and the finale, Noah has a lot more to do. It's weird. Noah is like the most wasted character. Not wasted. He's the most unused potential in the show, and and especially with the fan demand, like people love Noah. Like I call this principle where where if a character is brought back because of the amount of love they get, that's the Noah principle. That's what they did to Noah in Redonkulous Race, and I think that was a great idea. Like, kudos to Fresh TV for doing that. That was a brilliant idea, bringing Noah back for the fans. Noah's a great character, but he only really blossoms in World Tour. In Island, he's just kind of one note. I'm going to put him above Ezekiel just because he's funnier than Ezekiel. The Dodge Brawl episode is a bit more justified than Ezekiel's boot just kind of being out of nowhere. At least the Noah boot in the Dodgeball episode was pretty built up. We all had an idea. Yeah, this guy, he's kind of a jerk. Yeah, sorry Noah, I love you, but not this season. Your time to shine will come later. Whenever people are first watching the show and they were like, "Who's your favorite character?" I would say Noah, because I do love Noah, and they'd be like, "What? He was in like 2 episodes. What are you talking about?" And I'm like, just wait a while. You'll see. Noah is amazing. In World Tour, he's awesome. But yeah, no, sorry Noah. Even though you're one of my favorites, I mean, wow, I'm so unique. Noah's one of my favorite characters. Oh my god. But yeah, no, buddy. You're getting C tier for this time. Owen. All right, you ready? You ready for this? You ready for this one? That's where Owen goes. He's been. It's so weird to rate Chris and Chef. It's like they're so like integral to the series. They kind of have to be S tier. But I put Owen above Chef, and the reason being, this is Owen's really his only season where he's basically a main character. In Action and World Tour, he's basically just comic relief, and in Redonkulous Race, he's a supporting character to Noah. But in this season, he's arguably one of the protagonists. I feel like he does the job well. Does it get grating? A little bit. His fart jokes and his fat jokes, it gets kind of grating. But for this season, I feel like there's a certain charm to it that's lost in Action. In World Tour, and especially Action, you lose that charm. Whereas here, Owen, I feel he's so much fun. I don't think anyone was expecting this guy to not make it far. Like, he's the face of Fresh TV. He is the creator's pet. And for this time around, he does the job pretty darn well. I love Owen. He's great. He's a bundle of fun. But he never has too much going on. Like, yeah, he has the story with Izzy. He has the stuff with the guys. alliance, and he's just the big gentle giant. But you know, compared to a certain other character who's still on the list, or actually a couple of characters still on the list, his role, despite making the farthest and for all intents and purposes winning, he doesn't get to do a whole lot. I should also mention I prefer Owen winning over Gwen winning because in the Gwen winning ending, she kind of loses the money just abruptly, and it just sort of lowers the stakes for every season, because it's like if they can just get rid of your money, then what's the point? Whereas Owen, he willingly gave up the money, which created every other season, I guess. And I prefer that. I don't think Gwen getting robbed of her well-deserved money is satisfying at all. Like, oh my god, that is awful. Why would they do that to her? That's why I prefer the Owen winning, and it's just more iconic, I guess. And knowing that Gwen's a winner kind of affects her development in future seasons, whereas Owen winning, it doesn't matter because he's Owen, right? He's just comic relief anyway. But yeah, no, I think Owen serves his purpose well. I feel like it's a bit weird to say that Owen is S tier because he gets kind of annoying, but in the season, that's how he was written. He was written as the protagonist, and yeah, he serves his purpose well. I love his character. Courtney. Now, Courtney is probably the most shocking boot, because in the second episode where she goes to the camera and says, "You watch, guys, I'm gonna win the show," or whatever she says, I guess that just makes you think she's gonna make it far, like final 5 at least. And then she goes pre-merge, about around the halfway point, and I guess that was such a shock. You know, this character is so, like, everything about her screams she's making it far, and she just doesn't. Big shocker. Island is probably the best Courtney just because it's the most stable Courtney. I feel like after that, she sort of went off the walls because of her boot in Island and her relationship with Duncan. I feel like here she's super fun to have. She's a great leader character, and people look up to her and respect her. Whereas in the future, she just goes all crazy. Like, I do like Courtney in all her seasons. Courtney's great in all her seasons, but this one just feels the most like, when you think of early Courtney, it's just a different character altogether. And yeah, no, she has her flaws, obviously, but it just makes her so much more interesting and endearing of a character that I wish her development didn't go all over the place going forward. I'm gonna put her in S tier, actually. I think her relationship with Duncan, and all things considered, she has such a tragic boot because it just comes out of nowhere, to no fault of her own, because Harold rigged the votes. Yeah, no, Courtney was robbed. Courtney is so robbed. I'm gonna put her S tier. I'm gonna put her above Chris. I think Courtney is just under Heather. Yeah, no, considering the fact that she only makes about the halfway mark, Courtney's a great character. What else is there to say? All right, Duncan. Duncan in Island is weird because, like, after Courtney and Harold go, I feel like he has next to nothing to do. Yeah, he has the Guys Alliance, but compared to those two plots, the Courtney and Harold one, it feels a little underwhelming. Like, I feel like he's just there just to be funny and to have sweet moments with Gwen and Owen and Jeff and DJ, but other than that, it's just like he's just kind of a threat. And you know, I do appreciate his time here, but I feel like he has nothing to do towards the latter half. In the first half, he's great. He is one of the best characters, and he's already, you know, the punk guy, it's already written in the stars, he's gonna make it far, and he does in every season he plays. Do I like Island? Yeah, you know what, I'm gonna say it now. I think Island Duncan is probably the most balanced. I feel like Duncan works better as more of a supporting character. I guess Action is the season where he's the most front and center, just by the principle of being a finalist, but like, I don't know, man. I feel like Duncan functions so much better as a supporting character. Him in Island and World Tour is so much better than him in Action. And yeah. the two seasons where he doesn't win are the seasons where he's better in my eyes. Yeah, no, I like Duncan. I like Duncan a lot. Where would I put him though? Above Bridget for sure. So definitely S tier. It's so weird to rank Chris and Chef in this list. I just added them because they were in the template. Where would I put him, man? I don't know. Above Owen? above Owen. Yeah, sure. I'll put him above Owen. Under Chris. Nah, I'm gonna put him above Chris. Why not? I think Duncan is a great character this season. Even when he has nothing to do, he's still awesome. And yeah, no, this is the beginning of Duncan's 4-season storyline, and I think it's the second best Duncan we get. I think he only loses to the World Tour Duncan. Gwen. Right off the bat, Gwen, best character of the season. Without it, okay, the tier list wasn't letting me put her above there. I think Gwen is really the only character that just has, if you look closely, I guess, you just know she's the protagonist. Like, it's pretty obvious from the beginning. She's going to be our main girl. She's going to be the one we get to focus on. She's the one who we watch grow and develop into her own person as she learns to not be super passive-aggressive towards people. She learns to love, whether it be Trent or her friends in, like, Lashana and Bridget. Gwen finds her footing, and I think it's really beautiful, her art. I think she's the only character like that where she's just so front and center of a season. Action is like everyone is more or less, it's pretty much everyone has an even amount of screen time. World Tour, it's Heather and Alejandro, but even then they don't hog the screen time because you got the love triangle and all that stuff. And Cody and Sierra, Revenge is pretty neck and neck as well, I feel. All Stars is just dominantly Zoe and Mike. Yeah, no, I think Gwen is the only character like that where she has such strong protagonist energy, and not only does she make the final two, but she's also very likable that way. She's definitely the most developed character in this season. She's the hero. Her and Owen are the heroes that take down the main villain, Heather, the big bad. Her relationship with Trent is probably the what the season focuses on the most. And yeah, no, I like Gwen this season. Gwen is always such a great character, but this is one of her stronger outputs. Yeah, no, I don't know what else there's to say other than I like how the Amazon trio is the top three. I didn't think about that. I wasn't thinking about that, but yeah, they are the three best characters of the season, and three of the strongest in the whole series. Lashana. All right, we're gonna end on quite the whimper. We had a streak of Courtney, Duncan, and Gwen, and now we're gonna have three lesser characters. But that's all right. Lashana, I feel like this is her best season by far. This is the only, in action. They went in weird directions with her, and in World Tour, she's just kind of a footnote in World Tour. In Island, she serves a unique purpose in a sense that she's just like the best friend. She has that interesting story with Harold. She's just the really sassy one who sometimes gets into fights, the foil to Heather. But the thing is, she doesn't even have a showdown with Heather, really, like Lindsay does, but Lashana doesn't. She just gets that extremely unsatisfying Lashana boot, and it's just awful. It's so, like, for considering the fact that that's her best season, it is such a horrible way to end. Like, oh man, to this day, it's just, the writers didn't know what to do with her at the end, so they thought of the most contrived way to boot her. I love Lashana. Lashana's a great character this season. This is the, again, just like DJ and Izzy and Bridget and Jeff. The Islands are only good season, I feel. It's the only season where she feels like a pretty major character. Anyway, I'm gonna give her. Oh man, I'm gonna give her A above Bridget for sure. She's probably the best non-S tier character. But it's just like, oh man, why does it have to end like that, man? Why couldn't she have some kind of, you're going down, Heather. All right, Duncan, Gwen, Owen, take her down. Like, that would have been awesome, but she doesn't even get that. Sucky way to end, but hey, best character, best A-tier character. Trent. Now here's the reason why I call Lashana the best A-tier character. Because I think Trent is S-tier. Yeah, sure, he's normal, he's boring, he's generic, his entire character is based on Gwen, but in a show like Total Drama, that means a lot. If you are just a normal, nice, supportive guy, you're already, that's pretty unique, considering how wacky the casts are. Trent's a great guy, and I think Trent's relationship with Gwen is just super believable, and it's super, like, polar opposites. You get the goth girl and the nice guy, right? They don't usually blend well together. Usually, it's another goth guy, but here it works, and it's so believable, and it's so cute, and it's so adorable. And even though, yeah, you could argue Trent is a pretty static character with not a whole lot to do, his purpose is Gwen's boyfriend, and he does a pretty darn good job at that. It really humanizes Gwen. Not humanizes, Gwen's a monster. It really helps Gwen's story, and I feel like he serves he has a pretty great character, and I wish we got more of it instead of what the heck happened in action. I love Trent. I think Trent's great. S tier for sure. Bottom of S tier. He's not like as great as the others, but for all intents and purposes, I feel like Trent he's not a main character, but he's the main character's significant other, I guess. So yeah, no. That's what I say about that. Tyler. Now here's the last character, and we're gonna end on kind of a whimper because Tyler is he's the most forgettable character this season. Alright, we remember Ezekiel, we remember Noah. Tyler is just such a meh character this season. World Tour gets a lot better. He's a lot better in World Tour, and I love Tyler, but I love Tyler, but like if you got someone to name all 22 characters, they're probably gonna forget Tyler. Alright. He had a relationship with Lindsay, pretty cute, only lasted a few episodes, but it was pretty cute. He was, the jock that kept on getting injured. I'm gonna bring the dinner to the table, and then I'm gonna eat it. He is so funny, but it's like, his run here is surprisingly short. Like, when you see that relationship with Lindsay and Heather getting mad at it, you think it's gonna go somewhere. You think there's gonna be some kind of story where Heather tries to separate the two, but no, it just goes nowhere. For this season, okay, I'm gonna rank him. Oh man, I love Tyler, but I feel bad. I'm gonna have to rank him under Ezekiel, because I feel like he fails his purpose. Like not as bad as Sadie and Justin, but like for what you think Tyler is gonna do, you think there's gonna be this big rift because Lindsay and him are dating, but they're in different teams. We never get that. He doesn't fill the obvious niche he should fill, and his boot is pretty unceremonious and anticlimactic. The only reason why he's not F or D tier is because I love Tyler. He's so funny. He's great. But man, oh man, he feels so wasted this season. Anyway, that's my list. That was a pretty long list, but here we go. Tell me what you think. I think that Totoroama Island is a great season, but when you look at it a little closer, you realize, oh man, there's a lot of odd decisions with some of the characters. I think all these characters are super enjoyable, and I think it's a great start, but yeah, no, I feel that in some areas they could have made it a lot better. So thank you for listening to my tier list. I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, I'm gonna do an action list soon. It's gonna be a lot shorter because it's a lot less characters, but yeah, see you guys next time.